Good evening. Thank you for attending our meeting tonight, whether you wanted to or not. My opening remarks actually in this call to order. I was watching some of our old videos, and as I was looking at the timestamps and how long everyone was sitting there, and I saw all of our employees sitting through these sometimes very lengthy discussions. I just want to thank you all for being here. I know after a long day, I mean, and of course our superintendent as well, but of course that's what he gets the big bucks for. But I really appreciate all of you being here for these because I know, at the end of a long day you want to go home, and you're not, you're here. So thanks very much. Anyway, let's all rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would there happen to be a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion to approve the February 16th, 2026 monthly workshop agenda as presented.
Support. Second.
Lots of support. Wonderful. Any further discussion of the approval of the agenda? All right, hearing none, raise your hand if you want to vote yes. Any opposed? All right, motion carried. We have an agenda. Thank you. All right, then let's dive into our discussion items. We have curriculum and instruction-related items, beginning with SOAR progress. And yeah.
I'll take it from here. So we have a number of people here with us, Justin Glusing and Ashley Peterson from AMA. And Stacy Moores is also going to speak a little bit about it. But just as a reminder to our community and board, the SOAR Room is a partnership between AMA and Alpena Public Schools that's been many years in the works. It provides high-quality environment for students that need, more than just a general classroom. They need additional support and some small group interactions and things like that. And we've been going through various versions over, I think, the last 3 to 4 years. Ultimately came to an agreement to have AMA take over the program, and this is their first year doing that. And it's been a great success. So number one, I appreciate Justin and Ashley and everyone at AMA. Those of you that have been around know that the partnership between AMA and Alpena Public Schools, even in my time, was not strained, but it was had a lot of room to improve. And since Justin came on, there's been a great commitment to working with all of the districts. So appreciative of that. And this is one of those great pieces of success for our students. And we're here to highlight that. And I had another brilliant thought, but it escaped my mind. So we'll just let them share a little bit about the program and all the things that are great going on.
So I'm happy to be here with Ashley Peterson, one of AMA's special education supervisors, and she also oversees the self-contained special education room for students who have emotional impairments, otherwise known as the SOAR room. So we're happy to have her here. So just to tell you a little bit about the structure of the program. So students who need this kind of placement really have deficits around their behavioral regulation and need considerable behavior intervention. So it's a very specialized, highly structured classroom that really leverages evidence-based strategies for behavior intervention while ensuring individualized support for academic success. So they still are targeting general ed curriculum, and it's a challenging situation because you have a range of students in the classrooms. So with students having individualized IEPs, on top of that, some of them need additional services such as speech or social work. Social work is embedded in the program, but some need a little more intensive support. All of that is available within the program in a collaborative nature in their learning environment.
So when we were starting to meet last year to flesh out the shift in this program. Stacy and I spent multitude of hours together reviewing how the plan had previously functioned and then where this path was going to take us. And it was upon Stacy's recommendation of what if this school year we have a shared partnership in ownership and oversight of this program. And so we had a few goals in that process. We took this to our respective superintendents, and that plan was approved. Our first goal was mentorship. So APS has run this program for multiple years. We wanted to see continued success. So how do we do that? We learn from our APS colleagues here at AMA. How are you running the program? What does discipline look like? We have waded into new waters. At AMA, we haven't had a gen ed related curriculum because we're predominantly special education in this realm. And so we were learning things like, how do we navigate synergy? We haven't had it set up that way. How do we do M-STEP? Most of our students take my access assessments. So learning from our colleagues here at APS has been a really positive first goal for us. We also wanted to do some shared decision making when we're looking at students enrolling into the program or making decisions about their education while in the SOAR room, having a shared lens both from the local district and from the ISD perspective. Looking at data while we're doing that and making sure that as we transition for next fall that there's a smooth handoff for when AMA takes over the program holistically.
Just want to make sure to acknowledge Megan Black and Becky Meyer, who
Yes.
have been instrumental in this transition, and they've met with Ashley almost weekly just to work out kinks and problem solve and just make sure it's successful.
Exactly. So since we launched this school year, a few things just to note up here, and I won't read them bullet for bullet, but we do have a lot of positive curricular collaboration. Like I said, gen ed is a new area for us to have in one of these programs. So working with Megan and Becky, with Stacy, with Steph Piper, and the instructional coaches within APS alongside our special ed coaches and our staff has been really instrumental in understanding the curriculum and how to implement that for the students with IEPs in the SOAR room. We also learned just daily facilities, how to navigate ordering lunch for our kids. What if we're running on a day that APS is not open? What does that look like? Busing, transportation, enrolling our students. We had some students that were with us in previous years in the SOAR room and a few additions this year. Currently we have 6 students, and we have 10 open slots total for that program. All of them are APS students, and so we're very proud to have that continued partnership and collaboration with administrative representation from APS on that. We problem solved together. We navigated how do we set up NWEA testing for students that aren't APS students that don't have that type of same access, and we navigated that thanks to your tech department and a lot of hands on deck here at central office. I mentioned synergy earlier. And like Stacy said, Megan and I touch base weekly, and that takes a lot of effort with our schedules. Oh, perfect timing. But the flexibility there to talk through whether it's a quick check-in of, something's amiss or let's roll our sleeves up and work on this together. It's very collaborative, and we're very appreciative of the partnership with APS.
So obviously, the students in the classroom have a multitude of needs, and with like all IEP teams, there is a team of professionals with different lenses to help support the students, and the SOAR room is no different. Do you want to talk about your data?
Yeah, so from our weekly data meetings, and we meet with our itinerant staff, so that means like our teacher consultant, our social worker, our psychologist, as well as the administrative weekly meetings. We're looking at data routinely, seeing how our students are progressing, our shared students, right? And we're seeing increases in emotional regulation. We're seeing classroom engagement. Is it perfect? No, that's why they're in their program, but they're making gains on their IEP goals and objectives. They're making gains in the gen ed curriculum. And we're also seeing a reduction in physical aggression and elopement from the building, which I know that have been a concern in the past. With our ability to kind of circle more with our staff, that has increased presence alongside Megan, her team, her key identified personnel that are trained in CPI and other content. So that shared partnership has really helped support the program as well. And all of that we're working towards, ideally helping them work themselves back into an APS program at some point.
So this partnership has been very positive, and I just want to share that as the special ed director for the district, I understand how challenging it is to run such a specialized program with such intensive needs from the students, and just really appreciate AMA for answering our calls and helping us, taking over the program. They have a lot of staff that are very specialized and trained in behavior, and they have social workers on their team, and just a lot of specialized staff that are equipped to help these students through learning these skills that are more challenging for us as a district to help support. But obviously, doesn't have a lot of students in the classroom, but the kids that need this level of support is critical to them. And so we just really appreciate the partnership and all the support that you give all of our students who have special education needs throughout our region.
We just appreciate the time today to just update you on the progress of the program itself. And if you're interested in this program or would like to come visit us, please let me know. We'd be more than happy to welcome you into the room and kind of showcase what we're all about. So thank you again.
Any questions at all?
Yes, anybody have any questions?
Yes. So this program will be available to all 6 elementary schools in the district.
It is open to every elementary school and APS as well as our other districts.
Okay, and transportation?
Transportation we collaborate on within APS Dean Transportation, so we make sure that that's orchestrated before the student starts their first day.
Okay, and then you also said that if they meet their goals on the IP, on their IEP, they may be able to test out of the program and move back into a general ed room.
Yeah, great question. So we have a leveled system, so that's a multitude of data points that we look at, so how they're progressing on their IEP goals and objectives, how their discipline data looks like, so if they're not moving from the building, they're not engaging in physical aggression. We haven't had any occurrences of seclusion or restraint, and of course their gen ed progress as well. We review that data, and that's where we're looking at. We have one student right now that we're looking at starting to transition them back into the gen ed setting. Baby steps, right?
Yeah,
for
it would be
success.
a slow transition,
Exactly.
maybe a couple, one class or one
Exactly.
short period back into a general ed room and then back into the SOAR room.
Yeah, correct, yes.
And the personnel, APSs?
Yeah, so we staff the room with a teacher. She's a special ed teacher certified in emotional impairment, but she does have a gen ed background as well. And we have 3 IAs or parapros that we have, as well as we have been cross-training our paraprofessionals within our ISD, so that if we have unfortunately it's illness season, we have paras that are out and we need to pull paras from Pied Piper or our ECSE program at Lincoln. They're familiar with our students in the program as well.
Okay. Thank you, Ashley. Appreciate it. Thank you.
You said there are 6 students currently, and is it 10 slots total? So where there's 4 open?
Correct.
Okay.
Was it ever full? Were we ever at 10 or?
We have not yet been to 10. I'm not sure if the max.
We weren't at 10 either when we ran the program. It was always around 6.
Anybody else? You mentioned evidence-based practices. I'm curious. Sometimes in mental health, we struggle with those, particularly being a kind of a rural area. And although we have survived the RFP, which tried to dismantle and sell off our public mental health system to private mental health plans, we've survived that. But one of the things that they're doing now, the state administration, is they're redefining what it means to be rural or semi-urban, or there are all these shades. And of course, the way they did it is they took the water out of the maps. So now all of a sudden everybody's more concentrated in population than they really are. So one of the problems with that, though, is then when they design evidence-based practices for various kinds of areas, we are held to a standard that we frequently can't meet, because we just physically can't do it. I think, of people over, on the other side of the state too, who might have a giant bay in between, two points where they really have to get. So it makes it really difficult, unless you're going to hop in a boat and, skedaddle over there. It's not happening. So anyway, do you all ever have any frustrations with evidence-based practices based on that? And I'm wondering, I don't know yet if those changes are going to impact people outside of the mental health system, but do you foresee any issues, I guess, on that front?
I think from our lens, probably the most challenging is to find staff who have those, specially designed skills, because it is a unique need and it's not broadly accessible even in a city, let alone in the rural areas. So that, I know that was our biggest challenge when we were running the program.
I would echo what Stacy said, and in addition to that, I think we are blessed to live where we live, and of course with that there's always some challenges as well. And so really work hard, and I think that speaks to our collaboration of we can't do it alone, right? And so how do we lean on each other and work collaboratively to make progress for these students? As far as evidence-based practices, we're looking at a lot of instructional practices that we know work through that evidence-based research. However, we're always open to new ideas too, you know, and so we're individualizing every single student's learning that comes through our door because of the nature of the program.
Wonderful.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Quick
Anybody else?
question.
Last thoughts?
So the AMA then is going to be doing the renovations, or I'm
talk
trying to
about
read.
that
Okay.
next. Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And I think that's a great, thank you. And, you know, you look at, we are developing this program as we go. You'll remember, I think, last year when you looked at the proposal for this program, we had, obviously, we talked about students being able to transition back into general ed and kind of coming and going as the need fit. We had an idea what that would look like, but it's exciting that not even a full year into this, we're now at that point, and we're learning those lessons of how do we manage this process with the ultimate goal of them returning back to their, you know, their general ed classroom, whether it's in our district or our neighboring districts there. So, again, a lot of progress and a lot of answers to questions that we knew would come up. We just didn't know how to answer them when we were developing this program. And so then also, Justin, if you want to come up, you know, it's an interesting model where it's housed in our building. It's staffed by AMA. It has students from APS and potentially all the neighboring districts. And so we're working through that, which then goes into the uniqueness of it's in our building, but it's, you know, essentially AMA's program. And what do they do if they want to make improvements to the classroom? And so that's why Justin's here to look at a lease proposal that talks about making upgrades to that space. So,
thank you. Again, I'm Justin Glusing. I'm the superintendent for the AMA ESD. As Dr. Rabideau mentioned, and this goes back some time, we have been in conversations not just about the program, but about the physical space itself and possibly making an investment in renovating that space. I know Erica was able to attend a meeting along with Dr. Rabideau and Megan Black, who's in the back, and we chatted about some possibilities there. We are also in the process of planning for some work this summer at our Pied Piper facility. So as we were discussing plans for that renovation of that space, we were also looking at the storeroom space and the potential to basically give it a facelift. So much of the space is in good order. The ceiling is in good shape. The floor is in good shape. The restroom that services the space, we're looking at doing some work in there, as well as the two smaller adjacent spaces to the room, and really just upgrading the finishes and bringing in some newer technology. I did send out, and you should have a copy of a fairly detailed memo along with additional items for your review. And I don't want to spend too much time reading through it, obviously, or covering it in any great detail. I know you can review it, but happy to answer any questions. I appreciate also Simon Zolneric. He and I are becoming best good friends. Again, just to echo some of the things that Dr. Rabideau mentioned, that it's been a good collaboration thus far. We certainly are looking to build upon that in terms of renovating that space, along with the work that we have planned at our Pied Piper facility. The timelines that are mentioned in the memo, we're seeking next week at your regular meeting the approval of the lease agreement that would essentially establish a 10-year initial term for the capital investment that we would make in the space. We already have an existing lease agreement that basically has the same terms with the exception of the initial term, which I think was 5 years at that time. So it's just in consideration of the investment the AMA would make into the space. Again, we do have work planned at our Pied Piper facility. We have talked with Clark Construction, who I know you're familiar with as well. They'll be our CM on the project, and Simon has had a chance to review the initial plans as presented, and he had no concerns. Again, we're just looking to give the space a facelift. We also plan to bring in some new furniture for the space. That's not illustrated within the cost. That would be something separate, owner provided by the AMA. The furniture would be very similar, if not exactly similar, to the furniture we recently brought into the Pied Piper facility. I've seen some of you there when we did the renovation project there a couple summers ago. We've had great success with the upgraded furniture, and so that would be the quality of the furniture we'd bring back into the space as well. So.
And so essentially the terms are APS would cover the abatement, which is minor for the space, asbestos abatement, and then essentially the rest of the cost would fall to AMA, make the improvements to the classroom space, the bathroom, and the adjoining, what's the technical term, reset room, isn't it?
I think in the drawings it's referred to as a calming room.
The calming room. Yeah. So they'd make those, they'd field the cost of it, and then the lease just gives them and us, an agreement to this whole process.
How does this space fit in with like King Scott's plans? As far as, because I know this was one building that we were looking at that we might have needed more space.
Yeah, so they are aware of it. They've been a part of this, and it has no impact right now. As we move forward, I don't see us then saying we need to get rid of the SOAR room or something like that. But there's other things in the works. I know, AMA has interest in consolidating some of their classrooms and staff around Ella White. You've already done that, moving offices over and things like that.
Yeah, when we initially met, we did talk about perhaps a broader investment. If you think of the Ella White space where the SOAR room is, there is still some large areas that are underutilized or unused in the what used to be the behind the stage area that are storage and such. So we did have some of those initial discussions. I think based on the fact that APS is looking at evaluating the use of the buildings, we sort of paused that doing any broader approach to potentially a deeper investment there. We know the touches in the room, for our purposes, whether it evolves over time and we have to shift where the SOAR room is located, we certainly would have need for staff. If you've been in Ella White, obviously it's space is at a premium in the building. So we were initially looking at possibly trying to find a way to create some office spaces for our ancillary staff that service that building, and we were actually able to make some changes because of Dean Transportation found their own building and their office space moved from our office complex near Pizza Hut, and so we were actually able to bring that staff over that we may have otherwise looked at renovating a space at Ella White. And again, because APS is in the process of those other evaluations, we narrowed our scope and focused just on the SOAR room. We felt that was appropriate with all those other things going on for APS.
And, that's a balancing act as far as the reimagining our future. We don't want to just stand still until this project is defined and, we have a vision and how we want to move forward. But we want to be careful not to, invest too much in something that's likely to then be, sold off, repurposed, or whatever. So, again, pretty confident that, it won't be impacted. SOAR room won't be, Ella White won't be in those regards. But at the same time, we also do want to keep moving forward in that process. And it's nice King Scott's working with AMA on their projects, and they're also working with us on their projects. So they've been at the table multiple times, keeping an eye on this and taking everything into consideration.
Questions for Justin? board have any questions for Justin about any of this?
And on his memo, he's got a good timeline. Like he said, we'd be asking for approval on the lease at the next meeting, and then he details out some of the dates of the work going forward.
And I would just call the board's attention to the, it's section 5, consideration rent. The rent is very reasonable, but I think that reflects the wonderful partnership that we have going and the benefit that each organization gets from this partnership. So
Yeah.
I think that's makes a great deal of sense to me. Yeah. Anybody else?
And I'll be back next week as well, so if you have additional questions, then I can take them then.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Yes, indeed. Stacy, you want to come on up?
All right, so we're busy thinking about next school year already, but one of the first things we need to do before we finalize any of those plans is to work with the union and develop the calendar for next year. So we met with the union last week and started those negotiation conversations. So just touching on some of the requirements we need to think about and some other considerations when developing a calendar. So we're required to provide 180 days of instruction with 1,098 hours of instruction. For each of those days to count, we have to have 75% attendance. We need to provide at least 30 hours of teacher professional development, but you can see that we go above that and we provide 35 hours of PD annually. A new variable we need to work around is that state testing can no longer be counted as instructional time, but we're in good shape with that and do have an excess number of hours to account for that testing period. Other things we need to think about is that Labor Day is later for next school year, so there's not as much wiggle room for breaks and different things like that because we obviously don't want to go to the end of June next year. So that's the balancing act, but we did have really good conversations last week and tossed around a couple different options, and we're going to come together again this week to continue those conversations. So I anticipate it will be smooth and we'll have a draft ready for review soon. Other thing we need to think about is our teachers need to have 187 work days in the calendar as well. So any questions about the calendar?
Do you guys also kind of look at some of the surrounding school districts as well and what they're doing with their calendars?
So we look at it regionally. We have like an AMA shared calendar for certain breaks that we have to follow, but we haven't spent extensive amount of time looking at outside of our region, the calendar. But that's definitely something we could do for other ideas.
Is the state testing, where did that come from? Was that from the state or from?
Yeah, from the new pupil accounting manual that came out this year. So they threw us a curveball, but we were ready for it, so it's all good.
That was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They announced this
Yeah.
4 weeks prior to testing season.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Yes, but.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions about the calendar?
And to your point, there are districts that, have different calendars. They are all 180 days, and they have to meet those same requirements. So, where they put the additional days or they don't take a day off or those sorts of things. There's lots of examples out there. Locally, though, we are tied to the common calendar for AMA around winter break and spring break that set those parameters. And then from those parameters, we also have to work out, build out from those required days off and things like that. But
Did we get tied back in with the college again? I know we were hooked together.
Yeah.
And
And yes, so, that was a big process over the last 3 or 4 years. ACC worked with their cohort of community colleges to align as many of their schedules with our schedules. So for us, it was a really big win, I think 3 years ago, where our spring break finally aligned with ACC's spring break. So again, that was a lot of work on ACC's part to get to that point. I think we're going to come into a cycle where it's off a week or two here just because of their contract terms or something like that. But I know they are actively and regularly working to keep it aligned because their staff are parents of their resident districts, and having that aligned is beneficial to them as well.
And isn't it, is it over half of their students are APS?
For
ACC,
ACC, I think it's about 54%, 56% of their student body is current APS. 56, current APS students.
So
through
there's
dual enrollment and
Yeah.
early college and those things.
So that's one of the reasons I think it makes a great deal of sense.
Yep.
For that,
Yeah.
because if I just heard that out of the blue, I would maybe wonder why we were doing that. But I think it helps a lot.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you think it's really simple. But so ACC not only operates in AMA, let's see if I can come up with more acronyms, but they also are down in the Thumb, I believe, and they are up in Rogers City, and they have to coordinate with, or they want to coordinate with those districts as well. I would never say that a statewide calendar would be great, but it might make things easier, though the state would probably screw that up. But ACC really put a lot of work in getting that as aligned as it is. Because again, it goes across multiple counties, vast region of the state. And then I'm not sure exactly why, but they have some connection to the other community colleges, so they wanted to align with them to the best of their abilities. So that geographic space expands even more. So. But the one role you do have as board is setting the first day, student day, and I think we would ask to do that. You're meeting next week again with the teachers, so
Wednesday.
It is possible that we might have the whole calendar for review and approval. But if not, I think it would be good to at least set the first day, student day, which would be August 31st, which you would take action on that next week.
Any other thoughts, questions on calendar planning? Okay.
Oh, I do have to, what is it, next year? Christmas?
Yeah.
Get ready, people. I warned you about this, 3 years ago. We saw next year's winter break will be 7 days long, right? Is that what it's going to be?
Following year, yep. 7
So
business days.
we got one more year with 2 full weeks off, and then it's going to be a doozy.
Oh, it will be 2 full weeks next year?
I think that's what we're working towards.
That's
Okay.
what we're proposing and talking through, but
Yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, it still makes sense to have those 2
Yeah.
full weeks. The next year, though, it does not.
And why is that again?
Whenever Christmas falls.
Yeah,
Just where Christmas falls, it's just
on
a,
a Sunday, obviously, you probably go to
Right.
school on Friday, but
Yep.
if it's on like a Tuesday, you'll go to school through that, Friday and then have,
yeah.
Yeah.
it probably just depends really on how it falls.
And when you add up all the days and all the months, it works out that way.
Yep. Yeah. And leap year last year really threw off the schedule because it moved everything 2 days ahead instead of 1 day.
Right.
If we did start August 31st, where would that put us in June then? Stacy, have you kind of looked at that or no?
It was the second Friday of June.
Second, so like June 11th? Okay.
Sounds like no worse than usual as far as.
Well, had some snow days and
Well, you never know. It's true.
And I don't mean to hit you with a whole bunch of things. So then the following year, Steph, you were talking about this, but we end on a Thursday, or like you want to be careful not to end where if you have to make up days, you're calling people back on a Monday. Because you just won't get them to come back on that Monday. So I think in the next year or two, we're at that point where we have to be very careful to make sure to end on a Wednesday or Thursday to give us that buffer on Thursday, Friday to make up days. Because if we do spill into that next week, we wouldn't get those days.
We
So-
wouldn't have our 75% of students, so we couldn't count it anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
June of
Yeah.
2027, the 11th is a Friday, so.
Okay, yeah. Fun times.
Yep.
Thanks for the warning, I guess. No, I think it's really smart to get this information out there, and I hope the public is paying attention because it's not like we're doing this on purpose.
Yeah. And I see Lisa Ray out there, so I know you're heavily involved in this.
Yes.
And, it's quite a process.
Okay.
All right. Threat assessment. So we implemented a new evidence-based model for our threat assessment process called BTAM, Behavioral Threat Assessment and Management. So that went into effect November 2025. So our threat assessment process directly aligns to Pillar 2, our whole child development, designed to deliver a cohesive multi-tier system of behavioral support. And so students who go through this process and have a management plan as a result of the process are really at the Tier 3 level where we're individualizing a plan of support for those students. So we have a new law coming out, or is out, but will be in effect October 1st, 2026, that requires all public and non-public schools to establish a behavior threat assessment management team. And it needs to have multidisciplinary team members, which our model has. We've had a threat assessment process for a number of years, but we're just switching to this one cohesive model. And this model is the one that was endorsed by the Michigan State Police Office of School Safety. I went through their trainings to become a trainer, so it's very comprehensive. So like we said, one of the requirements is that there's a multidisciplinary team. So the core participants of this team, we must have an administrator, we must have a mental health professional, and we must have a law enforcement officer. So we're obviously lucky to have great school resource officers that we can call upon. We also have a lot of great relationships throughout the community. If they are unavailable for some reason, we have other resources we can tap into. So depending on the incident that occurred or the student's needs, we might need to bring in additional folks to this multidisciplinary team. So if the student has a disability, we want to make sure that we have a special education lens there. If there's a health condition, a school nurse. If the incident was involving technology, we might have somebody from the tech department involved. And then we always talk with the classroom teachers. So there are lots of different participants that could be involved in this process, just kind of depending on the situation. So we have like our core team that's trained in the process, that collects the data and analyzes the data and makes the decisions. But we can bring in other people to be like informants to collect data from to make sure that we have everything we need. So like I said, this is an evidence-based model. The BTAM is aligned with the National Threat Assessment Center, which is part of the U.S. Secret Service. And that organization conducted a lot of research, including averted and targeted acts of school violence. And that led to recommendations to develop threat assessment protocols and establish protocols for school safety. So one of the, I think one of the most powerful images through this training is the one up here, this pathway to violence and management. So when a student or an individual is on this path, it starts with ideation that becomes more persistent. And then that individual would go into the planning stage. And once they plan, they start preparing, and then it goes into implementation. So this training, based on this research, has equipped us to understand the warning signs, the risk factors, behavior patterns that we can intervene with the threat assessment process and interrupt this pathway. So that's the goal, is to interrupt this pathway and then to provide support and intervention for the student. So with the training, there were a number of objectives, but just to highlight a few, the participants that go through this training really get an understanding about school violence and the implications for prevention. Like I said, we went over all the behavioral concerns, patterns, risk factors, and warning signs through the model with the Secret Service influence. There's the principles of threat assessment, which include 11 investigatory questions. Those aren't necessarily questions we pose to the individual, but they're questions we must answer with the data we collect. And through that, we're able to identify a level of concern or not. So with the training, we went through a number of case study scenarios, and then at the end, we did a full tabletop activity that went through the screening process to the full assessment into developing a management plan. So this image just gives you a step-by-step overview of going through a threat assessment process. So if I'm a principal at a building, I would first receive a report that a threat was made. And then from there, I would go to the screening stage, where I would involve a mental health professional and the school resource officer. We would look at the incident, answer a couple of questions associated with that screener. If we could say with that data that we have at that moment that the student does not pose a threat, we don't have to move any further with the threat assessment process. We can stop at the screening. Sometimes at this stage, it might involve providing a lesson or some sort of intervention to the student to help redirect maybe some of the language they use, because a lot of times these things are just transient comments that the student didn't have any intent or means. They just said something inappropriate or repeated something they heard that they didn't know the meaning of. So there really isn't any necessarily disciplinary consequence, but it's an opportunity to provide support and intervention to that student. If we aren't able to say at the screening that the student doesn't pose a threat, then we need to go into the full threat assessment process. And that's where we start gathering information. This can be a lengthy process depending on the situation. So we'll want to interview the teachers. If the student's in clubs or sports, we might want to talk to those individuals. We want to probably look at their discipline record, their attendance, their, anything in their CA60 that might inform just kind of a global overview of where the student might be presenting at that time. So we look through all of those pieces, take all that data and organize them along to those 11 questions and analyze the information that we have. Going back to that multidisciplinary team, I just have to emphasize that this is done as a team. Not one person is making all these decisions on their own. It's done with that global team perspective, and there's a mental health professional on there that needs to be able to understand a student who might be struggling with different challenges at that time. So after we organize the information, we have to make that assessment. Does this student pose a threat? That's basically the question we have to answer. And then if the student might pose a threat or does pose a threat, what is the level of threat? If it's low, that's often the case. It then requires, all of the ranges require a management plan, but it's most common that it's obviously a low level threat that we need to provide just some intervention for that student, which could be some of our counseling services or some social work groups or something to that nature that helps that student work through whatever issues they're having in their lives at that point. So that development, the team develops that management plan. That management plan needs to be implemented and also progress monitored so we know that it's working, to see if maybe we need to make any adjustments, and just to kind of reassess where that student is over time. Hopefully, that intervention has definitely interrupted that pathway, and the student becomes more stabilized over time, and we can start backing off from that plan and essentially close the case. And that's just a quick overview of the process, but again, it can be really lengthy depending on the circumstance. So in the fall, we had 2 full-day trainings and trained 67 people so far. We have 24 administrators, 29 mental health professionals, 4 consultants, 4 deans, 4 law enforcement officers, 1 school success, and 1 school nurse. And we have an additional training coming up March 6th. We have a number of school success folks from NEMSCA that are going to participate in that training, as well as a few other people that the school's principals decided they wanted to have trained and part of their team as well. So from here, each year we'll do refreshers for our team that's already been trained, and then we'll have standing full training sessions for folks that are new that need to be trained. So just in summary, this model does equip us with the skills to identify risk factors and essentially prevent violence. We're able to address a broad array of problem behaviors that students might present with. We need to make sure that we have that multidisciplinary team, and that every person that is on that team, helping to make decisions on that team, have this comprehensive training, and that as a district that we have intervention resources, which we do. We're lucky to have a lot of great intervention resources for our students. The other thing that came out as a really strong component of this training is just the importance of a positive school climate. So one of the first things you do in a management plan is you think about the relationships the students have and who can you leverage that has a relationship with this student and strengthen that relationship and connect more relationships across the building, because if a student feels a sense of belonging to a school, the risk goes way down for any kind of violence. So that is a really important thing, and our schools do a great job with this, and it's part of our whole child pillar too with PBIS. All the work we're doing with PBIS is really aligned to the school climate piece as well. So any questions about threat assessment?
Yeah, I got a couple.
Let's have it.
Don't look so surprised.
No.
So first question is, I guess, what would constitute a threat? Now, when I look at this, I think of primarily threat as like an institutional threat, shooting, bombing, whatever that might be. Or is this entire scenario go down to more individual type treatment?
Yes.
It does?
Yes.
Okay. So what would constitute that threat in order to initiate this process?
You know, so any kind of threat that indicates like a targeted act of violence. So I know that's really broad.
That's actually quite broad,
So
yes.
like an example, like a student might get really mad at somebody and say, I'm going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
Like even though 99% likely that that's a transient threat, you're going to take that student, kind of understand why he said that, what the context was, go through the screening, and likely at that point you'll have enough information to say this doesn't pose a threat, but it's an opportunity to teach that student about appropriate language for school and to channel feelings in a more healthy manner. So most times it's instances like that. However, we do have situations where students might be a little more aggressive and might say something that causes us to have a little more elevated sense of alarm about it. And so we would go through this process and collect data, and often it would end up in a management plan just to help the student through whatever social emotional type struggles they have at that moment.
And at what point in this process is the parent notified and become involved in the process?
Yep, that's a great question. So we go through the screening process once we are notified of the threat, and then at that point, we would notify the parent to either let them know that we did the screening and it was found, not to be a threat, and we just handle the situation. We inform the parent that way, and at that point, Also, we would let the parent know that we're moving into a full threat assessment if it went that way. Because it's really important to have the parent involvement when you're going through this threat assessment. They are one of the individuals that we would involve in the process to understand what's going on at home, what might the student have access to at home, what kind of challenges might be at home. So that's all part of the threat assessment process, and the parents are key stakeholders in that.
Well, absolutely, you know, especially when we have mental health professionals and law enforcement involved in the process, and these are minors, I would certainly, as a parent, I would want to be involved in that process.
Yep.
I wouldn't want them to undergo any questioning by these individuals unless I was aware of that.
So let me just throw out there that the officer is not the one who's asking the student these questions. The school officer is likely one that is consulted with from the team. So when we are thinking about who is talking with the student, we're really thinking about who has the best relationship with the student to be able to get the best understanding of what that student is going through. Because it could be very scary for them, and it might take multiple times of interacting with the student to really understand why they made that statement or whatever they did, and what's going on in their head. So we really try to be conscientious about who is interacting with the student and asking those sensitive questions, and it's often the mental health professional.
You know, yeah, because there could be legal ramifications from those questions, so, yeah. Interesting, okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
I have a question. Now, do you guys ever do any like school-wide screening before there's even a threat made? Like
A social emotional
like
screener?
PHQ-9s or GADs or anything like that to pick up on some of this stuff before we're even involved in the situation of a threat?
Not at this time.
Okay.
I just have a comment. Actually, I noticed at the beginning of the presentation you tied this to pillar number 2, and I'm starting to see from all the staff in reports and such how the information is tied to the strategic plan. And I mentioned this to Dr. Rabideau the other day that having worked so hard on that, it's very gratifying to see that start to go into action and see, oh yeah, that's from, and it's helpful for the board as well. But I would think also for the public and for staff. So I just want to say I appreciate that being done, and I think it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So Stacy, after you have gone through the process and you've made an assessment, I'm all the way down here, and
Yep.
you've implemented a plan.
Yes.
How do you monitor that plan is being followed?
Yeah, that's a great question. So that's one of the things that we are tightening up as a district. And so these students, so if a student has an IEP, there is a time where this kind of goes back to the IEP team, and it could be handled through that process, and then that team manages it. Otherwise, it's kind of led by the principal of the building or of that alphabet in conjunction with the mental health person, often the school counselor at the secondary level, keeping tabs on that management plan.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Anybody else? Okay.
All right, thank you.
You fly.
Sorry.
Sounds like a little static. All right.
So I'll just tee it up for Megan. So we started UFly really as a district this year. Somewhat unexpectedly, I would say, because the dyslexia legislation, PA 146, came out, and in order to be compliant with that, we needed to implement something that was approved under that legislation for the 27-28 school year. If we wanted to utilize the grant funds to pay for it, it needed to be implemented by the 26-27 school year. So a nice little carrot for us. So this year, we have our elementary folks doing professional development. They started this on Friday, this last week. They'll finish it in March. And then we opted to talked Ella White into piloting this, and now Lincoln is also completing this to try to see what kind of problems we're going to have. So when you take a literacy program and try to implement it with an addition, like an ELA program that we're already using, like when are you going to do it? When is that going to happen? What issues are going to happen? So we also didn't want to overload our coaches. So Ella White graciously offered to do that, and so then Lincoln is also doing it. So
Yep. So, speaking of pillars, so this would be the academic pillar, and an exciting topic because it is academics, and we're talking about teaching kiddos how to read. And so our goal is always to make sure that all of our kids become proficient, confident readers. So our leadership team over at Ella White noticed that when our kiddos were getting to second grade, they just really weren't where we wanted them to be. And we were going, what next? How do we really dig in and help those kiddos get to where they needed to be? Ironically, that's when Stephanie and I connected, and it was like the perfect situation. We had a need. She had a tool that really focused on that science of reading, and a tool we could use that would really align the instruction to meet the needs of the kiddos. So UFly provides a systematic, explicit, and cumulative phonics instruction that aligns with state mandates to support students with dyslexia and other reading difficulties. Whew, that's a lot of words. So what does that mean? Well, it means, first of all, that it provides kids with those foundational skills that they need to become solid readers. It's what research says works. And so these things are phonemic awareness, letter-sound correspondence, decoding, spelling, and fluency. So we know that those are all important things. Our benchmark, our benchmark literacy has those pieces, but what UFly does is really focus in on that systematic approach, and it ties in these dyslexia supports. The more we're learning about dyslexia, the more we're learning that when we provide a support for a dyslexic student, it also provides supports for all of our kiddos. These are things that all of our kids can benefit from. So it's really that systematic awareness of how each of the skills build upon one another using multi-sensory techniques. So they do visual drills, they do auditory drills, they connect, sounds to their sounds to their letters with the writing, multi-sensory input. They're seeing, they're hearing, they're writing, all of the pieces. They're decoding and encoding. So not just decoding, which means breaking the word down so that I can read it, but also encoding so that I can hear a word and then put letters to that word and spell it out on paper. And then the program helps them apply that with the use of decodable text and fluency. That last bullet is probably one of the most important bullets. It's got a structured 8-step routine that reduces that cognitive load. So when kiddos are trying to learn and they're overwhelmed with what they're learning or they're trying to process, taking away the question of consistency, just having that structured routine, they know what's coming next, is a really valuable tool. So in 2024-2025, Lori Stowen piloted UFly in her first grade classroom. She had hoped to be here tonight, but she has a cold as well. I think everybody at Alpena is sick right now. So she piloted it, and it was really promising and was part of what got us all talking around the next step, which was this year, all of our K-2 teachers getting trained in and utilizing the UFly curriculum. It required 2 hours of in-person training. Just like with the SOAR room, the AMA was an amazing partner in this whole journey. They delivered that 2-hour hands-on workshop, and then the teachers were expected, the expectation was that they did 6 hours of asynchronous learning that really helped them truly understand the why behind the science of reading. And then probably the most valuable piece was the coach support. They provided one-on-one support. They still are providing one-on-one support in the building. They come in, and it helps the teacher apply what they've learned to the classroom. AMA has that expertise and then can help them tweak as they go. So it is comprised of a daily lesson that's 30 minutes. You can see that lesson arc, which has those 8 components. Weekly assessments, these are an integral part of the program because they then drive the small group instruction. And the small group instruction is very prescribed. So depending on where I come out on my assessment is going to tell the teacher how many additional minutes of learning I need as a student. So this is a sample of what the kiddos see on they are using the TVs, which is really, really awesome. If anybody wants to come in and see one of these lessons in action, it's a great use of the technology. So it's up on the board. So you can see it's visual. There are words, but there are pictures. So it's giving the kids lots of opportunities to know what to expect, when to expect it, and what their day is going to look like. As they go through this, the teachers then mark those little boxes off. Check the box, we've done that. So this is what it looks like in action. You probably can't see it on the TV, but on the TV, they've done the first 2 components and they're on to the auditory component. And so they sit at whiteboard tables. And so as they're moving through, they're writing on their whiteboard tables as they're playing around with the words. And I put this up there for you to see because when I say play around with the words, they literally play around with the words. And so we've got the word wick, and I think I've got one missing in here, but it would be change the ick to ink, and then they would write wink. And then we're going to change the w to and then they move and play around with the letters. So it's a very interactive lesson. It's got a perky pace. It's 30 minutes. It goes very quickly. This is what the data tracking looks like. I will be totally transparent. It took the teachers just a little bit to adjust to this because they are entering this data on a regular basis because on Friday, they have to look at this data and say, okay, for small group instruction next week, who needs what? Blue kiddos have mastered the skill. Green kiddos just need to practice the skill. Yellow kiddos need to review the skill, and red kiddos need intervention. And so with each of those levels is more minutes of instruction. So some early indicators of success, what Lori wanted me to share with you, I'll just read it for you. She said, UFly has given my students the chance to be involved and engaged when learning how to read. They enjoy the task repetition from lesson to lesson that allows them to practice new reading and spelling patterns with ease. UFly has led to some amazing word discussions in my room this year, and I look forward to seeing their growth at the end of the year. We had a kindergarten teacher who was, oh my gosh, dead set against it. And she's a great kindergarten teacher. And we just said, hang with it. And all of a sudden, it was like, a couple months in, it took a little bit. And all of a sudden, the kids just started, it was clicking. They're reading. They've never read this early in kindergarten before. She was so excited. I hear a lot of teachers excited about the fact that the kids are writing, that they're getting that practice. One of the videos, it's a lot of I do, we do. So the teacher shows how to write a part of the letter. The kids write a part of the letter. So it's a lot of that back and forth. But they can't say enough good things about it, and the kids love it. They have such a good time with it. I had wanted to bring you some data, but we're not quite ready yet. We've just done all of our Acadians, and I need to pull the last year's, which is not in the system. But when I get it, I want to share it out with you because from what I'm seeing, it looks like the results are really good. The results in UFly look great, but we want to see that track over to another set of data. So when I have that, I'll send it, Dave's way, and he can disperse it. And if we see something that's not working, we just ask why and dig a little bit deeper. So for us, this year at Ella White, continued support through that coaching. R35 is now taking that next step up. And then we're starting to have some really awesome conversations with our interventionists at AMA. Because if I know that this is what these kiddos need, can our interventionists work with our kiddos at the same time that our classroom teachers are working with those small groups? So it's almost like getting more bang for your buck. So we are working on that as a next step. I think that's all from me without Lori here. So any questions? And Stephanie stayed up in case we have dyslexia.
Yeah, I do have one thing to add is the really nice thing is it's going to start out as K2, third grade, if the data supports it. It's going to really depend on the classroom next year. It also is our Title I intervention, our STARS reading intervention, and special education. So it's prescribed and scripted. So the students are getting the same type of intervention. Again, they know what to expect, but it's getting, articulation is huge because people might say a letter sound in a different way. This is making sure that the teachers are saying it in the same way as well. So if you have 3 different people teaching you and you hear them making a sound differently, that's very confusing to a 6-year-old. So there's a lot of consistency along with the prescribed lessons, and they're getting it across the board.
And it's a very inexpensive program.
The manual is quite inexpensive. We have been able to purchase some like magnetic letter boards that the students are using that are very durable, and some other tools that will be coming. So some more tactile items for the students to stay engaged.
And this doesn't do it justice. Like I said, pop in sometime and see it. It's so fun. The kids love it. The teachers love it. It's perky and peppy, and they're doing cool things. So.
And you said that, I'm sorry.
No, go for it.
It's the science of reading, is that correct? Evidence-based. Is that fairly new to our curriculum in Michigan, or? Just
No,
kinda
the science
interesting?
of reading has been around for a long time. The dyslexia legislation is fairly new, and so you needed to have a curriculum that has applied and been approved that meets the science of reading in order to be allowable under the dyslexia legislation.
Well, actually, I find that really interesting and timely that this came up. I was just reading an article about this past week on Mississippi, who went from 49th to, I believe, 4th in a 10-year period by implementation of laws and with the science of reading as mandatory curriculum, as well as a few other things. So it's certainly an interesting process to look at, is because the poorest, most economically disadvantaged state in the country went from 49th to 4th. It's worth looking at.
And this is being utilized even at the high school level in special education. I won't put her on the spot, but there's a person in the room who is teaching it and has had really great success.
It's awesome? Yeah, it's. I've read a ton of great stuff about it. Obviously, there's more to it. Teacher education is a key component of that, the training. Of course, Mississippi took it a step further and did mandatory retention for under 3rd grade, but I'm not proposing that. News, I'm not proposing that.
Thank you.
But it's certainly worth looking at.
If you look, the state came up with literacy essentials, K2, 3, 5, came up with a set of literacy essentials for different grade bands, and that was kind of one of their first toes into a statewide look at the science of reading, and it's just evolved now with the dyslexia piece. But they've been pieces of it for quite a while, so.
It's also forcing the hand of the curriculum developers to up their research and up their programs as well. Other questions?
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Lots of fun, especially words like graphemes. I don't think I've seen that word since my college linguistics class. It's really awesome.
All the good things.
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
And I do have to reiterate, the staff is very excited to talk about this. I had gone over to Eloite a couple of weeks ago and heard about it, and then was about in the town and had some teachers come up and approach me to talk about UFly. So they're very excited to, again, see the results and share it with you. So.
Yeah, maybe when, if I can put that data together and everybody's healthier, maybe we can come back with the teachers and share that data out with you. I think they would love to do that.
Yep.
Moving on to the Chromebook bid proposal.
Yes. Andrew Reinhardt.
Come on up.
come
You're the
on
next
down.
contestant.
Good evening. All right, you guys should have my memo for the Chromebooks. I have 2 recommendations tonight. One for the Chromebooks, another for E-rate. Okay, so I think all of you know that every year we provide Chromebooks to all of our incoming 6th graders. That's what this RFP was for. It's a little early because market kind of dictated that. There's a shortage there's a shortage on computer components, and so we jumped on it earlier than later. So, yeah. So my recommendation is that we go with Vivocity's bid to provide 320 Chromebooks. We're expecting a little more than 300 students, and it's they're coming in at, it looks like, $349 per unit. So I will say this, something that's kind of important. Normally we buy through REMC, and they don't necessarily need a bid, but our REMC provider wasn't able to fulfill 2 of our orders this past fall. They just ran out of inventory. Actually, HP called them back, and yeah, so they have fulfilled 1 smaller order since, but the current vendor on REMC isn't able to provide. So I was really happy with these prices. You can see C-High actually was quite a bit more. I was expecting more around C-High's prices, but Vivacity came in pretty good. And they're very comparable devices between the 2. So, and pretty much the same as what we ordered this past year, which people seem to be happy with. Any questions on that?
I think it was probably 6 months or 7 months before I was actually on the board. There was a question about the blue light on these Chromebooks. Does it have that blue light protected on these?
That's a software feature, yeah.
But
most of Android has that built in.
It's built in? Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you for providing so much information. If we have any quiet evenings and we need extra reading, there's plenty of fodder here, but it's wonderful because I just noticed even on that bid page, I was about to ask a question and then I looked at it and I'm like, holy cow, it's really all there. So I appreciate that very much.
Sure,
Thank you.
Sure.
Can you come back next week if we have questions?
Yeah.
And we have time to go through all this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even
email
me.
you?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, or call me. Yeah.
Any the other though immediate questions about the Chromebook bid?
Just as a side interesting thing, and this is in some way tied to the increase because of the deal that the one person made with the 2 chip manufacturers.
That's right. Actually, I'm going to show you guys that.
Because get ready, everything's going to be much more expensive, and one person is going to profit off of all of this.
Really, OpenAI just kind of kicked it off. OpenAI closed 2 deals in one day. The first one with SK Hynix, which is the big, SK Hynix and Samsung produce the lion's share of RAM modules. Data centers they use a lot of RAM. Okay, so you don't have it over there. All right, this is a hockey stick graph. So this is what happened. They closed 2 deals in one day, somewhere back here. And yeah, the market went nuts. This is actually, this is set to zero. This bottom line is $0. So these are RAM modules, the cost of a RAM, you know. So if you bought this RAM kit, for example, it was $100 back in August. It's now, what is that? $500. So this is, it really is a, I mean, it's an emergency in our world. So this is happening to the RAM chips. And anything that requires RAM, which is pretty much all electronics nowadays, is going to see this increase. I mean, not all, the whole device won't see this increase, but the RAM modules are going to obviously contribute to the whole. But also, this is next. That was the prices of RAM. This is storage. So this is what's happening to storage also. It's lagging behind, but we're seeing, to say significant doesn't really say, you know, tell the story. Of course, this line is average prices. So, yeah, it might be tough to get equipment in the next couple of years. We just have to be on it. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to open a couple more tabs on your computer there.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You obviously have good RAM in this.
Oh, I do have good RAM. Yep. Yep.
I don't know if that's the right one.
So, yeah. Yeah, groups. I have a few.
Anyway, didn't mean to take us down.
But that's,
I feel like we can, because
Yeah.
I don't have that many, but I have pretty
Well,
close.
yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because when we talked about this in our agenda meeting, I thought that was really potentially quite a profound change in the way that we look at this technology and what it costs us. So I think it's probably quite wise to get ahead of this terrible curve.
Yeah.
So anyway, there it is for your consideration.
Yeah.
All right.
Then on to E-rate.
On to E-rate 2026. E-rate category 2 recommendation. Category 2 is inside networks, essentially. So we have category 1, which helps with the cost of external connections, connecting to the rest of the world. Cat 2 is anything inside. So any of our networking equipment inside of our buildings, that's category 2. So our public firewall, or the firewall that provides connectivity to our guest network and other public networks that are not connected to our APS networks, they're actually separated, that firewall is end of life. As of actually last year, we're on extended right now. So we have to replace that public firewall, or should I say guest firewall, which is not our main firewall that protects our internal networks, if that makes any sense. So this is like for events or presenters or anybody that brings a personal device. We don't want those devices connected logically to the network that our students are on or that our administration's on.
So this was a question I had. Are the students, from what I hear, they're able to get off of our APS and connect to that guest network, and then
That
they're able to
is-
get into more stuff through
Right.
that network?
Yes and no. We've been closing those. Yes.
Okay,
We've been
so they
closing
can.
those loops. We just have to basically put the rules on both. So we have to, which we've been doing. So if we block something on our main firewall, we have to suspect that they're also going to try to use the guest network, and we prevent that also. But this is something that we're aware of.
The guest has no limitations on
Yeah,
they can't
yeah.
go social media or YouTube on the guest network, that doesn't work.
Right, we have very similar rules. The main idea is, first we want to separate them. So if we're going to provide guest network, we can't, it's best to not have that on the same network as, on the same wires as our, other internal networks. Okay,
So can we put the same exact parameters on the guests that we do our internal?
yeah, we basically do.
Okay.
We basically do. We have to set it twice, but we're going to have rules on our internal networks that don't apply to our guests. Like, we're not going to put any synergy rules on there. We're not going to open up ports for any of our internal software on that guest network. If that makes sense, because we wouldn't need to.
Are you ever able to pull up with the kids on their Chromebook, just do random once in a while to see what network they're on or what they've been on?
We could. Yeah, we could. On the Chromebooks get that network by policy. So they can't just connect their Chromebook to that guest network. That's by policy. But yeah, on their phones, that's an issue. It's on my radar for sure to look at.
But when you say by policy, so can they go in and override that policy on their student
I hate to
device?
say no. I'm gonna say
I mean,
believe
anything's
not.
possible, but
Yeah. So, yeah.
Because these kids are pretty smart when
Right.
it comes to electronics.
It
I
is
mean, they're
whack-a-mole.
pretty.
yeah.
It is whack-a-mole. It really is.
Okay.
And there's been a long history of, far preceding you here, and prior to my time too, of do we chase down all the different websites and block those? I think we did that for a while, and then found it easier to block categories, and then they, find a way, and it's a never-ending cat and mouse game, basically, of staying ahead of them and learning from what they do, and then finding the fix for that.
Unless we just allow certain areas and block out everything else completely.
You whitelist, you're talking? Mm-hmm. It's not really possible.
Not possible?
No, not really. It would lock it down. I mean, it's just not really possible. I mean, it's possible. We would need, administratively, that'd be very difficult. Yeah. It's the safest. Yeah.
We'll give you guys something to talk about, I guess, hey?
Yeah. I brought that up. I'll tell you. I mean, knowing how difficult that is, I brought that up to my team, It's like, is this one way to do it? It's like, well, it's a different approach. It would certainly handcuff us. That's where it really, you have to whitelist everything, and then everything has to go through IT. And you wouldn't believe the things you do that you don't want to have to go through IT. Not even that you're doing anything wrong. It's just, it would be an incredible administrative task. Yeah.
So just to kind of keep this conversation, how is it that kids are able to access some sort of game? I don't even know what, I mean,
so-
I'll like my high school student be like, I don't
That's
know,
a
they
big
just play
question.
video games during,
Yeah.
this class. And I'm like,
That's a very, very big question. Okay. They can make their own webpage, even internally, which they've done. We just shut one down Friday. Internally, they had a web page running on Google Sites. Nothing bad about the game page that they created, besides it was games, and we blocked those. So that was internal. So, we caught it and shut it down, and we constantly have to watch for that. Now, we block by category, and not every, again, that's like whack-a-mole. We're updated too, but you can't catch them all. They're named like mathwiz.com, and before they're really known, kids are using them. I mean, before the security community knows about them, kids are using them, so it's very difficult to say we can stop everything carte blanche. It's done today. I mean, we basically have to update. We have to stay updated and make sure that we have the appropriate categories selected, and then we have to listen and watch. It really is, it's a our security admin has his hands full, for sure. And they always have here. Yeah. So how do they connect? I mean, it's just, you know, there's communities. Kids are they're on Discord, they're on all these other, and they learn and they share, and they're much faster than the security professionals, just because it's just how it is.
When the kids are on their Chromebooks in the classes, assuming they're logged in under their student account, the teachers have access to whatever's on their
They do.
screen, right?
They
So
do.
if the teacher is monitoring, and I know there's some teachers that are excellent at that. I mean, even when they're hit, you know, PD, they're monitoring what their kids are doing. You know, I've had my students say, "Oh yeah, she, you know, likes checking my computer," well, even though I had a guest teacher. And so all teachers are aware, though, that they know how to do that. Like,
yeah. That is, it's a tool, you know, and I know it's just not every teacher can look at every Chrome, and I know that that's a struggle, you know, because that came up just recently.
And it takes time. I mean, you gotta remember, every time you do that, you're taking away from other
Yeah.
kids. So, and kids are clever, I mean, right? As soon as it's, everything's gamified for them, so as soon as they come up with something, it's something else. So, yeah, you could put those parameters into it, but there's a balance in there, where if you work with them and say, you know, what's more appropriate, can you block everything?
Yeah.
Sure, but, you know, is that realistic?
Yeah, I mean, right, that's, you know,
What's our
It's a great
average
question.
screen time per day for the kids?
I wouldn't have those numbers. I'd have to get that, if I could get that for you.
That would depend. I mean, if you're in one of the computer classes at the high school, it's gonna be
So you
the
do
whole
one
hour of
in
the
there
CTE.
for-
You know, if you're in a classroom that's teaching CAD, it's gonna be different than if you're in a kindergarten room. I don't know that you can really come up with an average in that way.
You'd almost have, yeah, it's hard to tell. I mean, really, I think a lot of it is specific, and what is screen time? Is this screen time? I mean, that's the other thing, if they're looking at a screen, is that part of it too? So it sounds like it's an easy thing to break down, but really, you gotta figure out what it is and then really what do you wanna get from it.
And it depends on the teacher and how, you know, what their teaching style is. You know, K 1-2, I mean, not a lot, but they're gonna have like their 20 minutes per day in Waggle if they're following the math curriculum, but that's really the only
I think you're seeing,
consistent thing in
I
elementary.
think you're seeing a trend where kids are starting to move, they're going away from it, coming back almost all a detox maybe, or, you know, where the kids are like, hey, paper pencil, right? Okay, hey, let's try that, well, now what idea? And you're like, oh yeah, it's a great idea. You know, so I think you're seeing more of that, but could you pin it down? And honestly, what a teacher did one week could have very little relevancy to what they did the next week as far as screen time, but I think you're seeing more and more of this, and less of, you know, whatever the gadget is that's in front of us.
Thunder Bay moved away, was it last year, from digital workbooks to they wanted a paper pencil workbook. UFly isn't it's interactive for the whole group, not for the student. So it's kind of shifting back.
Are we kind of trying to shift a little bit too? Push that a little more? The paper pencil more?
Well, I think it's not only paper pencil, it's also, you know, it's conversations, all the pieces. It's probably bigger category to be everything, but again, what's that apply for? Is it you need 5 minutes online to be able to figure out what you're gonna do and how you're gonna do it, then you have the discourse and working with computers. So I think that's all part of it, but I think you see this trend where kids, they're gravitating again away from it. I think teachers are also gravitating. Remember that a lot of our younger staff now grew up in this world, right? Everything's digital, and they're not afraid to go back and say, hey, let's try to do something different. Maybe it's project, maybe it's this, maybe it's paper and pencil. I think that's what we're gonna find in the near future. What is that balance? I think right now we're still trying to sort it out.
In Steph or Stacy, remind me, because I think it was before you were in this position, but the ELA curriculum that we selected, and maybe Sarah or Gordon, you sat on those committees. One of the key features that they liked about that curriculum was the paper reliance over the digital components. They turned down a much more digital based curriculum in favor of one that had more writing. So from a systematic perspective, that was, I don't know if it was a shift or not, but I remember they highlighted that as part of their decision making of getting them off devices and getting them on paper.
A lot of teachers prefer to teach paper pencil because it's easier to manage. Like you said, you know, some rooms had that ability to be able to look at the screen, but does the teacher really have the time an ability to teach well and look at screens. It's just another thing. So, I think a lot of the teachers are preferring not having the devices open. You'll hear shark bite or, it's like a shut your Chromebook. In a lot of classrooms frequently to make sure that the kids are focused.
Would the board like us to bring this topic back as a discussion topic in and of itself? Because it seems like, we're sort of on a tangent. I've got my tangent alert is going off here. But I'm wondering if would the board like to have this again as a presentation to talk about these issues? Or would we like to, ask staff to, maybe start to explore how we might gather data on this question? Or, I don't know. I want to, keep to our business of the agenda, but I don't want to, shut anybody down if you're interested in exploring this more.
If we want to explore it more, I think we need to have staff in here to discuss it,
Sure.
to have them explain what they are using in their classrooms and how they're using it.
So
Have
that
the
would be
teachers
one
included.
That would be one facet of the discussion. Then, what kinds of programs are using in class where it's an approved time to be on a screen?
Yeah, and the phones too, because I know we're gonna kind of, I don't want to get off on that tangent tonight too, so.
Right. Thank you.
I have a question, Andrew. Okay, so in 6th grade through high school, the kids get the laptops and they are able to take them home.
Yep.
And then they can log into a guest, like they can go onto a guest profile. Okay, so when they're at home, there's no firewall or anything
That's
for
a problem. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Yeah, that is a problem. And yeah, thinking about this again, we set initially what networks, I need to go back to your concern earlier. They could connect to our guest networks. Now that I think about this, we do set networks initially in what network they should be on. They can connect to other networks afterwards. I do believe, I'll have to come back to see what measures we have in place to prevent that. I believe there are some. I don't believe we just have Chromebooks on the guest network. But when back to your question, they're not behind our firewall anymore.
Right.
At home. So that's a concern. So, here we have filters basically blocked on subject, right? Gaming or explicit content, right? At home, we don't block that at their firewall. We can't, but we do. We do have measures. So we use Securely. Okay, Securely is a piece of software that protects the students from. It has safe search automatically on, so they can't just they don't have access to the full web. They have to go through Google Safe Search, and that's provided, I believe, through Securely. So, Securely does offer a layer of protection, but it's not the same as being behind our firewall that has all that blocked.
Can they download another browser on their Chromebook and search through that?
No, I don't believe so. I'll come back with a better answer for you.
Okay.
We certainly lock down the applications that they can install.
Okay. Well, I'm hearing themes around devices and types of work they do online and Chromebook security, and those seem to be some themes. So maybe we could talk about another session at some point to cover these issues again. Yep.
Well, my question is, so we're just, really we're giving them a computer to take home or do anywhere that it gives them full access to most of the
No, it's
okay.
not. No, it is locked down. Securely does a pretty good job.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering because, on my children's phones, and I know a lot of parents that they also have software on them that they can see what their kids are doing. Is there something that parents can also see to make sure that they're not?
We don't have that software right now.
Okay.
Securely does have more capabilities that we are not paying for. I'm looking at.
Well, I was just wondering if, parents, if they want that option, if they could do it. Yes, if they can keep an eye on what their children are doing, especially at home. What I mean, it's just Wi-Fi. You can connect anywhere. I mean, you can, just on the
I think you're
computer
talking about the
itself.
device.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
They would
device.
have to be in their Google account. You can't sign into your personal account on our Chromebooks.
What you
Right,
can do it as a
yeah.
guest. Is that?
No, you can't
No,
sign
okay.
in as a guest on the Chromebooks. They
Okay.
would- Yeah, so, we do enforce our logins on our devices.
Okay.
They can't just log into any. No, they can't. Right, I'm running all
Yes,
these questions, is this true? Yeah, they can't, as far as I understand.
Okay.
Log into any other domain.
And then the Google account that they're using would have a history of what they were doing if there was something that was questionable.
Right, yeah, we have Vault, and we can look into almost all of that activity. I hesitate to say all because there's,
Yeah.
And these kids are smart.
yes, absolutely, yeah.
As a parent, I would just want to know what my kid is
Right, and
doing.
I
I mean,
honestly, I mean,
this is dangerous
To Matt's
to just-
point, a lot of security is conversations, like even with us, and making sure that we all have secure passwords, for example. It starts with a conversation, right? In the class, teachers have to set expectations, parents have to set expectations. It's like, well, that really needs to be a conversation that we keep having, because it's almost the first square. We have to be aware as adults what our kids are.
right, and it's rapidly changing.
Mhm.
I mean, it's
Right.
trying to keep up with it too.
Right,
So.
right. Yes, so did I actually get to the recommendation? I think I did. No, it's all good. It's all
So,
good.
and as you do that, I wonder if you could just kind of succinctly tell the board a little bit about what the E-rate process is.
Okay, so it's an FCC program, and it helps with funding for public schools and libraries to keep modern networks. It helps us stay secure. It keeps the cost reasonable. I believe we're paying 20%. That's where we fall. I don't know how that metric's done, but it's based on. Okay.
Usually, we only pay 20% of our entire purchases, like we updated our Wi-Fi in all
Last
the
year.
buildings
Mhm.
with the last round.
Yeah.
Great.
So it's important to take advantage of that for sure. Now, some of these vendors submitted bids that weren't 100% eligible. So, all right, well, my recommendation is to go with Evo Pro Tech. They are going to supply exactly what we asked for. It's a FortiGate 200G, and it also comes with FortiCare Premium, FortiGuard Unified Threat Protection. It's like a security package, and those packages are 100% E-rate eligible, where C-High's Enterprise was not. It has some extra bells and whistles in there. So you'll see on the second page, if you have that memo up, that was something actually I wasn't anticipating vendors submitting less than 100% eligibility, and Evo Pro was 100% eligible. Also was the cheapest for what we were asking for. People driven, they bid on they were going to supply a Cisco 1230. That particular device doesn't have the throughput that we require, so it kind of immediately just wasn't a compatible device. Yeah.
So, Andy, your mind's like at way different level than me for what's going on with this, so I'm going to trust you completely. So we have four quotes in front of us here, and Eve Pro is the one you're recommending, but it is not the lowest bid.
Right.
But to be clear, the lowest bid does not meet our needs as
It
a
doesn't.
district, is that
No,
correct?
so
So we can basically scratch that because it doesn't meet the
that,
bid
among other
requirements?
things, there are other reasons
Uh-huh.
that I don't know if they're just as important to me. So we have, I almost feel like I shouldn't be saying this in public. We use.
Don't worry, they won't use any of your words against you.
Right, no, I'm talking about
You can't get recalled,
At least
Andy.
that's been our experience.
From the standpoint of talking about our security devices.
Yes.
It's, we have Fortinet security devices and networking devices. There are protocols that, like FortiTelemetry, and there's all these different protocols that the devices communicate with. So you can have like a Fortinet switch and a Fortinet firewall, and they can act as though they're connected. Where if you get the Cisco.
So what you're saying is it won't work, right?
It could work, but it makes things more difficult.
We trust you.
All right, we're trusting you. We'll scratch that one off.
Okay.
I've got a question that might be a little bit, so our current one that we have, it has reached end of life status. So here next to like EV Pro, when it says 5-year, is that approximately how long this should last, or is that something different?
They always give extensions, so it'll probably be 7 years if I
Okay,
guess.
so
in
that's, I
reality.
just making sure this
Yeah.
wasn't like a 1-year thing, or, I mean.
No, it's 5 years as of now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard to know how much to explain. Yeah.
Basically, what it comes down to is the compatibility between the different firewalls in our current system.
Right.
So that's the reason why we're not taking the lowest bid.
And it doesn't have the throughput. That's
Yeah.
the big one.
I'm just making sure that the lowest bid is not meeting the needs, therefore we can scratch it, and we're
Yeah,
good
not
to
meeting
do
the needs,
so. That's
right.
what I'm looking at here. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions?
If you're still here in a few minutes, might have one more item for you regarding the email situation.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But it's
Absolutely.
not really on the agenda here. So if you're still here,
Yep.
we'll try to
Very good.
get to that. So thank you so much for all of this. Yeah. Yep. Yep. So anyway, yeah. Well, thank you very much.
Yep.
And thank you for all the extra reading. That's going to be really fun. So, all right. So. How do you know I'm not really looking forward to it? I might be. But no, it's very interesting stuff. This is all these presentations tonight. This is why it's so fun to be on a school board. It really is. So if you're watching it or considering running for school board, we can vouch for it being really awesome. It's really fun. And besides being incredibly serious and very important work, but it is also fun.
I'll also say, I really appreciate the staff that has their expertise, because clearly Andy was speaking a different language that I did not understand, but I appreciate that, and we have good people in these jobs, so thank you so much.
All right, that brings us to safe, warm, and dry.
You want to come on up?
Welcome, Simon. Thank you.
Thank you. Don't ask me any questions like Andrew. I'll try to be a lot simpler. So anyhow, we opened bids for our 2026 bond extension, I would call it, I guess, from our due diligence with our funds and all the other things that we got along the way. So what you have in front of you in the bid packet is the bid tab results, and if you'll see in the left-hand soft awarded apparent low, that is our inkling right now. We have not concluded our post-bid interviews. We hope to do that tomorrow, and then we'll follow up with our formal letters from Clark and myself for the meeting for next week. So we have work this summer at Ella White, Thunder Bay, Lincoln, and the high school. And I will be, Eric, we did receive, low bid. We did receive a few other bids that were lower than this list that were not viable bids. Thank you very much. So One was material only, not a furnished, fully installed package. And there was some prevailing wage rate issues as well, so.
Who originally did the roofing at the junior high?
Original bid?
Yeah, original, like the original building. If you know, sorry.
Like back in 1998?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was DeVere that built the building. I don't know who put the roof on. The original shingle roof. And then I'm not sure who did the membrane roof, the green membrane roof. We're talking about the original rubber roof over the gym, cafeteria, and the band room area. So that is original to 1998, that rubber roof. So that was not replaced when they did the green vinyl on the rest of it. So, and there's a few deducts in red at the bottom. For the there was a science table, reusing the existing science table alternate tops. So, we're looking at that. We're doing a moisture survey on the roof insulation at Thunder Bay here as soon as the weather allows, so that there's a $75,000 deduct if we are able to reuse the existing roof insulation. So I'm pretty confident that we will be. So, and then also at the high school, because we did redo the roof, they did put new roof coping on where we didn't put the existing metal panels. So they're going to be able to pop that roof coping off, put the metal panels on, and reuse that. So there's some savings there. So, and then also, right now I don't know what the dollar amount is exactly, but I know Versatile for the metal panels and the roofing package has offered a deduct if they're awarded both divisions. So that number is to be determined, and you'll have that for next week. So.
Which post-bid interviews haven't you done, Simon?
We haven't done general trades. We haven't done resilient flooring, painting,
Okay.
and electrical. So.
In the general trades category, who is Clark Contracting?
Clark Contracting is a separate entity from Clark Construction Services. I think I'm not Clark here to vouch for that, but they are two separate companies. So like their numbers were not shared. We use this pretty neat bid opening package program where when you open the bid, it opened all the numbers, and Clark couldn't see the numbers until 2 o'clock when the bid opening was, and it opens up and everybody's number's right there. So it already knows who's low. So interesting stuff. I can follow up and I can get you more information on that, because that does.
That makes me nervous.
I agree. I agree that I knew that would be a question.
If you didn't, that was a bad sign.
And I think they are lower, a little bit lower. I think but they are local for the most part. It's going to be local people, less mobilization costs, that kind of thing. So.
Yeah, that's just a fox watching the hen house,
Yeah.
potentially.
Yeah. So I want to make sure that everything's, I agree with you on that we don't want anything getting crossed up with that.
Okay.
So.
That's just an old DeVere.
Yeah. I knew that was going to be a question. So, but Versatile Roofing, they did the existing mantle panel, so they're very eager to hopefully finish that entire project. So there, no issues there. Reamer Plumbing, very good work with them on a couple of our past projects as well. So no issues with our big ticket items or anything like that. So more questions? Don't ask me about technology. But we did receive, I had a note wrote, we did receive 27 bids, I think the number was, so we had very good participation, so.
I see we're over budget on or what the budget estimates were.
Yeah.
Are we gonna have to cut something back to meet that, or is there additional?
No, I think funding wise, we're well within our budget means for that, so.
Okay, those were,
At
just
our-
estimates?
Yeah, at our
Okay,
1 million,
gotcha.
you're looking at the far right, the 1 million, 1.9.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we're at 2.7, and if we take those,
2.07.
yeah, 2.07, so if we take those deducts,
We're close.
yeah, we're right.
Okay,
We're
I
right
just
in
didn't know
budget.
if that was estimates or if that was all the money that was left over in the bond.
No, we still have additional funding for another
27.
phase, 26, 27.
Okay.
Because just to look back, thanks for bringing that up, AJ. So Dave, I went back into your email. So do you want to touch base? Have we talked about this publicly? Really, I don't know about the leftover bond money.
Yeah.
So I don't know if maybe that's a good background to kind of give, because it's right that we have like 3.4. Is that right? If I'm looking at your,
Yeah.
or is that just from the 2026 bond projects that are
So I'll
targeted?
defer to Mary for the total amount, but the
'Cause this is all kind of like bonus stuff, right? These are all kind of bonus projects for the most part.
we want to be careful in bonus.
Yeah.
These were originally identified in the bond
Yep.
scope, and throughout the 5 years that we put projects on, we removed many of these or scaled projects back because at that particular year, we were looking at that budget and wanted to be conservative and not go over it. So now we're going back to our original list of things and trying to cross off as many as we possibly can. We're able to do that for a number of reasons. Number one, the $7.1 million train energy bond that we implemented back in 21-22, that essentially took $7 million of work off of the Safe Warm Dry bond list and did it through the no cost to taxpayer rebate program through train. So univents, boilers, I think we covered with that. Probably some caulking and sealant of the buildings and things like that. So that essentially made $7.1 million now available in the Safe Warm Dry bond that was originally scheduled to be paid out of that. Excellent interest rates on the money has also put us in a position where we have funds left over. And then each year, I think it's accurate to say that each year our budgeted work came in well under budget. So we had savings each year realized. And so now, again, we're able to go back to that original list and start doing some of that work. And we do we know we'll be able to do work again next summer as well. And just get as much of the original bond work that was listed done.
We also took care of, or wrote things into the ESSER grant.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
ESSER funds, yeah.
Yeah.
Flooring, and HVAC carryover that wasn't completely covered by the
Yeah.
project at Hanks, so we really took advantage of the grants.
Yep. And so it's originally scheduled for 5 years of work. We're heading into the sixth summer. And can we go into an eighth, or that we have to have it all done within 7?
You can go, but, they like you, they want you to spend at a pace to make sure that you're spending the money as you're supposed to do it.
Yeah.
So, we did hit arbitrage levels, so we do owe the federal government, but that's already taken out of the figures that I gave you, Dave.
Yep.
Yeah, I think we plan on pretty much wrapping up next summer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so 33.9 million was that the original bond, and we're $42 million worth of work by the time we're all done. So.
Great. Anything further on that from anybody? Wonderful discussion, folks. Thank you. Thank you, Simon. Okay, then that would bring us to 457B adoption. You have the Omni and TSA CG document in front of you.
So, the 457B plan is for governmental employees. It's a different vehicle for retirement savings. The additional benefit to this is that government employees also can do a 403B and a 457 simultaneously, and putting in over $50,000 towards retirement, where the 403B is capped at like 25 something this year, I think it is. So it just helps our employees save more towards retirement. It also has the added benefit of not having early withdrawal penalties. So if you come up against something, child's college tuition or a new car or anything like that, you can withdraw from the 457B without any penalties. So we're just adding that to our TSA plan. A lot of the other school districts, when the consortium started out, it was just 403B. A lot of other school districts added the 457 a few years ago. We didn't move because we really didn't have anybody that was capping out of their 403B, but we have some interest now, so we thought we'd add it and let our employees make the choice. And then this falls under Pillar 3, which is Michelle's area.
Too late, Simon. You can't add no.
It's not the district's money, it's the employees' money, so it doesn't fall under 5.
Mary, this doesn't require anything from us financially, correct?
No.
This is just so that they can sock in their
They
retirement.
can take their wages pre-tax and dump it into the savings plan and use it for retirement.
So it seems pretty straightforward.
Mhm.
Okay.
But the board does have to adopt a resolution approving
Yeah,
this.
I gave that. That'll be in the board packet next month. I don't think it's not on this one. Yeah.
Next month or the next meeting?
I mean,
this
next-
next meeting,
next
yes.
week.
Just checking.
Regular meeting.
Sorry.
No, that's okay.
Because I think you said we have a March 1st deadline to activate it. So,
Mhm.
Yeah.
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 Okay. Any questions?
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Okay, and we'll have our, we'll have Sarah read our charitable gifts next week. And that brings us to our first, our only opportunity for public comment here tonight. Do we have anybody who would like to come up?
Good evening. My name is Lisa, and I reside here in Alpena. I just want to touch base on something that I had talked to you guys about previously. I am here again to follow up on a matter that has now been brought to the district's attention not once, not twice, but 3 separate times. And yet it still remains unaddressed by certain board members and the superintendent. The lack of response is deeply concerning for me as a parent, and it should be for everybody else in this community, especially given the seriousness of the incident and the district's obligations under its own policies. When a child is physically assaulted on school property, when reporting obligations are not followed, and when parents are not notified, district leadership, including the board and the superintendent, have a clear responsibility to act. After all, we voted for you, and your job is to make sure he's doing his job. Why is it that I've only heard from 2 board members about this situation? Why, during a conversation with admin about lifting the no trespassing order, when this issue was brought up, we were told that we're not here to debate that? Why would we be told by admin that going to the board meeting to address this matter would not look good on us as a family, a community, or a district? These responses were not only dismissive, they were both inappropriate and unprofessional. I am asking for nothing more than what should have been standard practice: transparency, accountability, and a commitment to student safety. I hope the board will demonstrate leadership by addressing this matter directly and ensuring that such failures do not occur again. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Anybody else? Nobody else? Okay, well, thank you. That brings us to information and questions from board members. I do, in my report, have a couple items. Forgive me, I'm just making a couple of notes. And just a couple quick items from me. One is just so the board, so you don't think that your president is some kind of like depraved, freedom-hating monster, because there has been some discussion in the community about this. I just want to point out that there were quite a few instances where deputies did come to our meetings. I believe under the previous 2 board presidents, at least, this was a practice, just, to make sure that everybody behaved and everything was fine. And then so that's nothing strange. That happens in school boards all over the place, probably more often than it should, but it happens a lot. And then as to the claims that I was threatening people with defamation, that policy, or that statement rather that I read about being careful about what you say, that came straight from Brad Banasek at Michigan Association of School Boards. It was nothing that I cooked up, and you can read it in their 13th edition of their open meetings guide. So this was, and actually Brad assured me that other districts do use that. They make those same statements, and they it's been something that people have used for something like 7 years, he said. So anyway, I just wanted you all to know that that wasn't crazy stuff that I was cooking up in my evil dungeon of, thinking of ways to suppress public comment. And actually, I know what it's like to have my public comment suppressed. Just in case, members of the public, I don't know if you know that, but my public comment at one point was suppressed when I had 2 sections of a letter, not at all over the time limit. And I submitted them to the board, was before I was a board member, submitted them to the board to be read. The first one was read and the second one was not. And there was no reason for that. So anyway, I do know what that's like. I sure hope that never happens on my watch. So anyway, that was that. The next subject is, do we have any upcoming meetings on our board orientation work group? And if so, let me know and I'll
I know,
try to attend.
I kept thinking about it and getting a hold of the 2 of you and Dave and setting something up with that. I know we need to.
So that's in the works.
So, Anna, did you touch base with Lee yet on the website, or?
I have been touching base with Summer, so.
Okay. Well,
kind of waiting to come up with the checklist and before we.
maybe in the next 3-4 weeks or something then?
Once we get the checklist done,
Okay.
and then to kind of.
Okay.
Move that towards getting some of that onto the website, so.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Okay, just wanted to make sure we were still moving. And then so lastly, then the email question. This 2-step authentication, multi-step,
multi-factor authentication.
Thank you. I don't. I think I have email in my cave, but I'm not really sure. I think I have it on my phone, but anyway. So you want to talk to us a little bit about that? And Andrew, you're here if you want to chime in about. No,
Yeah,
actually, I won't ask you to raise your hands, but I'm guessing that not everybody on the board has done that yet, and we have until the 20th, so we have a few days to finish that process.
So, multi-factor authentication, which means that when you log on to your device or into your email account, it's going to want another way to verify that it's you. And trusted device is an option, which would just mean that if you log into your computer, it would go to your Gmail app on your phone and say, is this you? And you click, yes, it is. You have some more flexibility, correct, to set it up other ways, but that's essentially it. It needs you to go through this process and do that by the 20th. Otherwise, you will then have to go through Andrew and he'll have to reset everything and do that. And it really comes from just good security practice. It is a standard, I think, across the industry. But for us specifically, last spring, I think we really started getting over the summer. Started getting hit with phishing scams and everything. And it was just kind of relentless for a little while, where we actually turned it on over the summer for a very brief period of time, because people were just buying into these phishing phishing scams. So we've now done this. We're going throughout each employee group and having them do that, so that, again, it can verify to the best of its ability that it's you and not a robot or something that's trying to log in.
Yeah. So secondary, I didn't think that was going to be smooth, but it was smooth. The last day, they went from 75% to now, I guess it was 94, which is pretty good. So, I was sweating there. Elementary is enforced on Friday. You guys are in the same group. They're doing much better, and I have to call out Besser. They're at 95%. Yeah, so that's pretty good. Most of the other elementaries are right around 80%, so that's pretty good. I'll send out another reminder email. Probably 2 more, actually, before Friday. And I'll use red lettering and let them know you'll lose access to your account if you don't turn this on.
And you can set it up to have it call a phone and read the code to you, and you type that in if you don't want to involve a second device or something like that. So we have a number of staff that I think chose that option. I know they were talking about that option, but yeah.
That's right. Any method that you choose is better than none.
Mm-hmm. And they'll pass it along too. Passwords, phrases are the way to go versus, words with numbers and symbols and all of that. So apparently phrases are very difficult to hack.
Oh.
They're easy to remember and they're difficult to hack.
Every additional digit, it makes it exponentially more difficult to crack.
So you don't have to have 5 special characters and all these other fancy things.
One of the big problems with that is it's hard to remember that. Yeah, so if you pick a longer phrase, maybe even 20 characters, you don't even notice it's 20 characters. Yeah. Like I mentioned in our last meeting, Tiger Stadium is a good password, right? Well, anything that's longer is better. So.
And nobody can use Tiger Stadium because that's mine.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
Right.
That's a good one.
Well, you didn't need my help there, Dave.
It's very memorable.
Okay. All right. Well,
but
good.
Yes. If you need any help, I can help to some degree. If you screw up like I did, then it requires Andrew to get in there and clean the pipes, so to speak.
It will be quite a lot of work. If nobody else signed up by Friday, we'll be in trouble. But I'm sure they'll figure it out.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I'll be putting out amended instructions also, because Google changed the user interface last month.
Oh, wow.
So that made it a little bit more difficult for people to follow.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
That you said the amended instructions will be in the email this week?
Yeah, I'm going to put out it's really, you can't put explanations for everything in there. You can't account for every scenario. So I'm not going to try to. I'm just going to say, go here. People can pretty much figure it out from there, but people aren't reading the email either. Our instructions of when we were at 300 people enrolled, or over 300 people enrolled, only 100 people opened the instructions. So, I know that the longer it is, people are just not, so the struggle.
The struggle is real.
Yes.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Good. And that's all that I had for my report. So from other board members, questions, information, thoughts?
Go ahead, Anna.
I just have one question, a couple things. So one, board goals, that was on the agenda tonight. I didn't know if we were shifting that
To March.
To March,
Yep.
okay. Go ahead.
I was, after Justin left, I was thinking the 10-year lease thing seems like a long time for in the ever-changing world. 10 years seemed like a kind of a long lease to me.
I was gonna kind of say the same thing, like, would we be safer going even with a 5-year? But I don't want to see them put a bunch into this room and then we just don't know what's gonna be happening with the district, I guess.
It does have a mutual out clause, so we could exercise that, but 5 years. Do you have any objection to that? Yeah. Yeah, but I can reach out to them
Was
and
it
see.
like the clause? I was surprised how flexible I thought the
Y-
out
yeah,
clause
yeah.
was.
I remember it from last year. It wasn't a complete alphabet of things we had to jump through to get it.
Yep.
But
The lease may be terminated by mutual written agreement upon a material breach, blah, 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 within 60 days, so 30 days written notice, so.
Yeah. If you're interested, we can have a couple of options. I'll reach out to them and see. We originally talked between 10 and 15, and.
so even longer you were comfortable with?
Well, we went to 10. The original idea was 10 or 15, and we went to 10. So, and it really was no solid reason why 10, and just it gives assurance to everyone, and falling back on the ability to mutually agree to terminate it. So,
okay,
we'll pose 5 years and see what they say, and I can let you know.
Okay. The other question I had in regards to our speaker, do we have a policy regarding email responses? I was under the impression when Anna was president, even if we were all labeled in an email, Anna was the spokesperson and she handled the response.
Yeah.
And was that a policy, or was that just how we handled things?
It's a policy that the board president is the spokesperson for the board. And so that policy has been a practice for, as long as I've been here. And I think it's pretty standard that the board responds through the president.
I mean, I wouldn't want you to think that you can't speak to anybody, but if it's any kind of official statement about a board position particularly, then it would be appropriate for whoever is the president to make that.
Yeah.
Okay. Just so long as I was operating under the right assumptions.
Yeah.
Monica?
Just real quick, Dave, thank you for sending out Thrune's welcome letter. I appreciate that, the January welcome letter. It looks like they did go up a little bit hourly from what we voted on back in the summer. I know I brought this up previously, just that if we can also look at the other gold standard law firms, just to do a comparison for July. I know July is probably going to come up quicker than we think, so if we can just get some comparisons for hourly rates and retainers.
You got that down. Okay.
Yeah, and I think the last time we talked about it, there was some information on scope of work that they are able to do. So maybe we could include that again as well to make sure we're, apples to apples, if that's what we're looking at.
All right.
Anybody else? All right, hearing no further information or questions from board members, that concludes our agenda. The next item is advanced planning. February 23rd, we have our regular meeting. Please note, it's at the Wildcat Den at 5:30, and then the Strategic Planning Summit at the Wildcat Den at 6:30. So we look forward to seeing you all there. And then, of course, we have some dates in March for workshop and regular meeting. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful evening. We will adjourn.
All right. Thank you.